Hello fellow investor, I want to welcome you to this channel. In this video we'll look at the earnings expectations for Uber. Uber is scheduled to report first quarter earnings on Wednesday, May 7th before the market open. We'll cover several topics to see how Uber is trading going into earnings and help set expectations moving forward. We will review the current price chart and trend charts along with some key valuation metrics. I'll also share Uber portfolio holdings and performance. Let's get started. Uber reports earnings on Wednesday, May 7th before the market open. In the previous quarter, Uber reported revenue of $11.96 billion, beating revenue estimates by $185.32 million. Uber reported earnings of $3.64 per share, beating estimates by $3.04. For this quarter, the revenue estimate is $11.61 billion, with earnings per share of 70 cents expected. Over the last 90 days, 22 analysts raised estimates and 5 analysts lowered estimates. Uber meets or beats analysts' one-year forward estimates 100% of the time. The options market is pricing an implied move of 8.25%. I first entered Uber holding on February the 5th after they reported earnings last quarter. They pulled back a little bit, but it looked like a good opportunity for me to enter. Uber has provided an unrealized return of 14%. I have also traded some options on Uber, providing realized return of 29% for a total of 43.1%. I have one open September 19th, 2025 call with a strike of 67.50 that is profitable. Uber has been on a very strong run since the April 7th low resulting from the tariff announcements. It's pretty much continually rode its 5-day moving average, and moving into earnings is looking very strong. We can see their RSI bottomed out a little above 30. Since that time, it's crossed above the 50 line and is now in an overbought condition, sitting above 70. Current RSI is 71.44. When we look at the PPO, we had a signal line crossover in early April, and since that time, the 12 and 26-day moving averages are both above the midline. When we look at relative strength compared to the SPX, both the relative strength and momentum is outperforming that of the SPY. We also see good accumulation on Uber. We see the money flow is positive, and when we compare Uber to SPY in a relative basis, it's exceeding that of the SPY by 10.79%. When we look at Uber compared to the technology group, it's outperforming 15.4%. There is some debate if they belong in the technology group or the industrial sector. When we compare them to the software industry group, they're outperforming by 8.24%. Looking at Uber on the 5-year weekly chart, we can see that Uber is trading above its longer-term averages, its short-term averages, midterm averages, and the short-term averages. So once again, to me, this indicates that Uber is showing some strength moving into the earnings. Using Seeking Alpha as the source, which does have Uber in the industrial sector, passenger ground transportation industry, we can see that Uber has a forward PE of 25.97 compared to the sector of 18.05 times. When we look at the expected EPS growth rate and revenue growth rate over the next year, we can see Uber is expected to grow EPS by about 56%, while the sector sits at 8.09 on average. For revenue growth, we see 15.57% compared to the sector average of 4.54%. When we look at profitability, we can see that Uber is more profitable than the sector at 22.41% compared to the sector average of 6.17%. Fast Graphs is showing Uber trading at a blended PE of 21.91 times with an EPS yield of 4.56%. Uber does not pay a dividend. The adjusted growth rate over the time span shown is 8.54%. The fair value ratio is calculated at 15 times, and the normal PE, the blue line on the screen, shows a PE of 42 times. That's the price that the market typically values Uber Technologies at. If we look at the Uber earnings over time, we can see that they were not profitable as a company for the first few years. They did finally become profitable in 2023, growing at 119%. 2024, they grew 424%. They're expected to have an earnings decrease in 2025 of 47%, and then for 2026 and 2027, we can see that they're expected to increase their EPS growth. We can see in December that it would have been a really good time to pick up some Uber. They were trading below their fair value ratio when normally they trade pretty much where they are right now. If we look at their price today, at a price of about $53. Now that is really not my expectation given the strength of Uber into these earnings. In 1 year's time, they would be expecting to trade at 73.62 times, and at the end of 26, the price would be expected to be 73.62. And at the end of 27, 95.31. I hope you found this earnings preview helpful. If so, please subscribe to the channel for future videos and consider giving a like to help support the channel. Thank you for stopping by. I wish you the best in your investment journey, and remember to trade well.